So Viv, welcome to Culture Camp.
Thank you very much, Kerry. Nice to be here with you.
Nice to meet you. So tell us about what you do, Viv.
Okay, so I'm the director of a company called Integrity Coaching, mainly serving the education sector, working with head teachers, senior school leaders. I'd probably say there are two strands to our work. Well, actually, no, that's not true. There's one strand, which is wholeness and well-being. And underneath that, we have a number of services really dedicated to either working one-on-one with school leaders and their teams around what it means to be well in the world, i.e. self, others and society. And race runs across much of what we do as well.
Brilliant. So it was that phrase, how to be well in the world, that really caught my attention. And unpacking it into those three parts, I think, is a really good place to start.
Okay. All right, so let's begin then in terms of why that phrase. And I have to be honest, there's a very dear colleague of mine, Giles Barrow, who first used that phrase. He's a TA, transactional analyst. But essentially, for me, when I first set up Integrity, it was very much to do with my own experiences of being a young Black female head teacher and just realizing the isolation that came with that. And there was no one to help me in my darkest of times. So when I left headship, there was a sense that there's something missing. How do we really care for what I would call the soul in the role? And that's when Integrity was born. And for quite a while, if I'm honest, that really was focusing on the person. And we still do focus on the person. But as I have matured, as I've looked over, begun to look more at society and the world in which we live, I realize there's a risk sometimes when we focus solely on the individual of wellness being individualistic. And particularly with school leaders who we work with, I don't want that. They are part of an ecosystem. They are preparing our future leaders. Our children are the ones who are going to inherit, society, who are going to inherit a new tomorrow. And therefore, for me, this being well in the world is really connected with, yes, we must have a right relationship with ourselves, first of all. That makes sense. Yeah. But then we need to think about fostering healthy connections with others, and particularly around race. And I think particularly if you've been racialized as white, that fostering healthy relationships with others can be a bit of a tricky area. And then also, I think, that third bit of being well in the world is then once we have those two pillars in place, how is it then extended to helping to create a more harmonious society? So that's really what those three strands mean for me.
And do you think there's an order to them? So you mentioned kind of that foundational bit of connecting to yourself and then to others and then the world. Do you think there's a journey that we have to go on with that?
I think most definitely. And I think we've all been in relationships where perhaps it hasn't gone the way in which we wanted it to, or there's been negative outcomes from that. And when we take the time to stop and reflect, we can either work out whether that has been to do with the individual or with ourselves. So I think it always starts with ourselves. We need that level of self-awareness and self-understanding, because if we can have that, then it helps us to form right relationship with other people. If we don't have that, I think that's where the conflict comes in.
Yeah. And in a work culture, are there some things that we need to be aware of when we're connecting with other people around us?
I think there are a number of things in terms of, things that we might need to be aware of. I think, first of all, again, though, it's about recognizing that each of us carry within us, I call it almost like our rucksack of different histories. We all have our backstory. I'm here talking to you, Kerry, but really, your experiences won't be the same as mine. And so therefore, I think the first thing is about understanding and empathy. And again, people have heard it said before, but, listen before you speak, or listen with the intention to understand. Sure. And I think that has to be central, first of all, because we can make so many assumptions. And again, just us two here on this call and people who will be watching in, even before either of us have opened our mouths, they will be making assumptions about you. They'll be making assumptions about me. So I think first and foremost, fundamentally, has to be about listening with a view to understanding and with a view to building right relationship.
Yeah. And part of that is the the conditioning, right? We've talked about society, and we've talked about the influence of society and assumptions on both of us.
Yeah.
Do you want to share a little bit about that conditioning and your perspective around that?
Yeah, because I think, all of us, we all have been subject to the socialization process, i.e., we've come into the world and the world is already set up around patriarchy and other sort of forms of oppression and so forth. We have no choice about the world into which we have been born. And almost like osmosis, the norms that the world exists by that say, okay, carry for yourself as white and female, fear for yourself as black and female. This is how you are to be within the world. And we absorb those norms. And really, we don't question them very much until we're a lot older. And it's my belief that, the socialization process actually causes damage to the soul. I really do believe that at a fundamental level, it causes a damage to who we really are and who we are meant to be in the world. And I really feel that in looking at systems of oppression, healing is needed very much at an individual level, because when we have that healing individually, we can then also be the people that we need to be to help heal the world and make it a better place.
Yeah, and you work in the education system, so I guess our first systems that we encounter might be our families or caregivers, and the next one is most likely education. So really vital that this work happens within those education settings and with those the people in charge, the teachers, the people who are leading those spaces. How do you find teachers react to the kind of work that you're doing? Is it welcomed? Is it new concepts?
I think it's a really, really interesting one. There's an author you might not know called Parker Palmer, an American Quaker social activist. He's in his 80s now. And he says that we teach out of who we are. And in terms of our work, that's what we are bringing to our schools and our school leaders around the race work. It's not enough for you to know the content. If you're teaching about race, our young people will pick up on how you are engaging with that subject matter. If you are nervous, if you stutter when you speak, if you ignore the emotionality of these conversations, then the message will continue that race is taboo. Race is not to be spoken about. So in terms of our approach within the education sector, I wouldn't say the education sector is fully there yet, not by a long mile. I mean, there's lots that's been done around decolonizing the curriculum. I think is valid and it's important. Yet what I also see, I do see pushback in terms of individuals who hold power within our sector. They will stay with that because it kind of like feels safe, but it's only part of the work. It's not all of the work. If you want fundamental change, it starts with us. And it's been able to, as I said, lean into the emotionality of this work, because that will never go away. We are human beings connecting with one another. So we need to know how to invite that in and let it be a part of our conversations around race.
And presumably that begins, or that work is happening or should be happening within teacher training, the education of teachers and beyond. Is that right?
I so wish it was. I so wish it was. I mean, my dream is
tell me your dream. Tell me your dream.
Curriculum. So we have what's called the National Professional Qualification for Headship. And it's not mandatory, but it's what most school leaders will aim for if they want to become head teachers. Now, as yet, there is nothing within that training around how do you, particularly in our sector where over 90% of our school leaders are white, how do you claim your agency? How do you step forward around this work and really be who you need to be? There is nothing as yet. My dream is that we, along with others who are doing good work in my sector around this, help influence that. We need our white school leaders to stand up, not just because I'm a woman of colour. Okay, I might be passionate about the work and I love it, but the reality is over 90% of our school leaders are racialized as white, that they have a moral duty and an obligation to actually equip themselves in the correct manner to lead on this work. So that's my dream, that we change the education system and how it approaches race in schools.
And some of those barriers that you talked about, so people may be feeling disconnected from the work or feeling like that nervous around talking about race. I wonder if you've got a perspective about where or how that can be changed, or how we can take some steps as a society to normalize and champion and encourage, no matter what race you are, the learning about race.
Again, it's complex and there are no easy answers to this. I think one of the most important, we have to create the environments where it's okay, where people can be vulnerable. Again, in my sector, particularly with school leaders, they have to show up in a particular way. You know, they have to have that leadership armor. That armor does not enable you to enter the psychological and emotional space necessary to understand at a much deeper psychological level how you have been racially socialized. Until we get better, in my sector, I will say, at creating those environments where vulnerability is welcomed, where vulnerability is seen as a strength, then we'll start to make progress. But until that time, it's not going to happen. So just, you know, a little, you know, anecdotally, I know of one particular borough in terms of this work, they had suggested, well, we'll just put it on the agenda for whenever head teachers come together and they meet to discuss school improvement. And when I heard that, I was like, you really don't understand this work at all, do you? You really don't.
Well, it goes back to yourself and connecting to others. That's not on an agenda, is it?
Exactly. But again, also in those environments, heads come already armored. They come to protect, they come to defend. They don't come to soften. To lean into a different psychological space where the conversation is about who are you? How have you come to know yourself? And what might need to be different so that you can lead from a more soulful place, from a place of wholeness and authenticity. And we just don't, and it's ridiculous really when you think about it. I think for education, when you think what our school leaders are charged with, really, we should be having more of those spaces because they shape, as I said earlier, our future generations. So things have to change.
And you mentioned in your sector, so the sector that I work in, mainly within charities and within councils, we often bring in reflective practice into our projects for the project team who are working on the project, but also for participants or attendees. And we find that creating those environments where people aren't in competition. Often charity leaders are in competition with each other for funding because of the way commissioning is set up or funding is set up. So spaces where they're not in competition, spaces where they don't have to be the one with all the answers, the helper, this kind of helper mentality, and we're the good people helping, so we know everything, and you're the people we're helping. So, you know, that kind of imbalance. So creating environments that address that and equalize. And then finally, finding a bit of your joy in the work as well. I wonder if those kind of concepts resonate with you.
Oh, absolutely. And when we run our own program, you know, we have a program called Race Identity and School Leadership. And very much that's what we're doing. We're creating those reflective spaces. You know, and as you said, you know, and we as a team, we have those reflective spaces outside of delivery as well, because we know we have to model what we're asking of others with each other as well, so that when we go into those spaces, we're sensitive and we're able to lean into where people might initially feel uncomfortable about showing up in that way. So
and those spaces in classrooms as well. You know, if we're the educators regularly engaging in reflection and connection, and then recreating that with the children that we work with, things could change, couldn't they?
They could, and you know, my hope is that they will. But I personally feel there's so much damage has been done in our education sector with privatization, you know, academization, you know, norms that have been built around neoliberalism, so the competition and so forth. It's going to take a while, but again, I am optimistic, and I do believe, you know, you like those flyers where you can. But and
I guess the healing goes alongside the development, as always, doesn't it? So kind of that repair and restore kind of approach to things.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed talking to you, Viv, and it's so interesting. This is why we do Culture Camp, so that we can speak to people from different sectors and explore some of these concepts in organisations and in societies. So it's been fabulous talking to you. Can you tell us where we can find out more about your work?
Our website is www.integritycoaching.co.uk. Twitter @VivGrant, LinkedIn also the same. Yeah, you find us.
Great, and we'll pop all those links in our workbook that we're sending out, and also below this video. So thank you so much, Viv. It's been great.
Thank you, Kerry. Lovely speaking to you.